Welcome to Shorty SuperCoach. How you going out there? Going to take a look at a few of your questions today. I just thought, been getting a few comments through lately. It's something I used to do a lot more of when I first started, and then I was busier with work, was getting more comments, and it became really tough to answer them all. And I was sort of like, if I can't answer them all, I don't really want to answer many because, people see their question answered and then someone sees theirs not answered, and I don't know. Maybe I was overthinking it, but I've been trying to get to a few more of your comments when I got a few spare minutes at night, and I'm not as busy at the moment because I'm not working as much, studying, so there's a little bit of backstory. The point of all that is I thought it'd be good to sort of, incentivize the comments and give people an actual opportunity to have them answered. And, hopefully it gives you a bit of a thrill if you get your name and a question answered through a video. A bit like the Q&A, I'll still be doing those. In fact, I'll be doing one next Wednesday. So stay tuned for that, probably at 8 o'clock, but I'll put out a separate video for that. But yeah, I guess I just wanted to reward the people that do comment. And while I won't be I'll just have 5 or 6 questions in these videos. I'll try and do them every now and then. And in combination with the Q&A, hopefully it can sort of reward the people that do comment. And yeah, hopefully, give you guys some enjoyment if you do get one in the video. And if not, hopefully I can get around to it just by replying through the comments. But we'll go through, 5 or 6 today. Let me know if you like these types of videos, and clearly if you got a question that might be able to be used for the next one of these I do, pop it below. I just got these from random videos, probably from about 3-4 days back, so if you've commented in the last couple of days, I wouldn't have seen it for this video, but nonetheless, we'll go through a few. Thanks for your question, Travis. As you would have seen, he asked, with more trades, is mid-price the way to go this year, especially with rookies being hard to find this year? That was would have been around the time when I was discussing the new rules and how we got 35 trades. So thanks for your question, mate. To answer that, I don't think so. I'm pretty content to, even with more trades, just treat it exactly the same as we normally would. I wouldn't be changing the game plan because we may well need those extra trades. That's why they've given them to us. We've got no idea how frequently we might have to trade guys out that might miss through isolation, that type of thing. So we might have more trades, but I'd encourage you to still appreciate them and use them, treat them like gold. So it might be a real advantage to have 35, still use them like they are a great commodity, and you could be able to build a really good side if you do avoid a little bit of COVID carnage throughout. So no, I still would be sticking to the same sort of mid-price rules and guns and rookies sort of strategy. Thanks, Corey. Corey's been regular, absolute regular. I remember the name a lot popping up in the Q&A. So thanks for your question and your support, mate. I'm sure I'll see you chatting live in the Q&A next week. He says, who is a good D3? Hardest position to pick, depending on who you pick in D3, can be a good premium or can be as good premium options, and he lists a few as you would have seen. Look, I must admit I'm thinking similar of a few guys that I've been looking at, how many deep do we want to go in the back line? From the list you've mentioned, I really think, and wherever you want to place them, I think you need to have Whitfield and Sicily in your team. I really think whether they fall at D3 or D4 or D2 and D3, however it sort of sits, I think you need those guys in your side. Of the others you mentioned, Short and Dawson and Maynard don't really float my boat at all for reasons that, I would have spoken about previously, but I won't go too deep into that. Of the other guys you mentioned, I like Hall the most. The way he ended the season was absolutely unbelievable. You could mount a case that he's even slightly discounted, slightly cheaper than what most of his season delivered. Ridley, a lot of positivity about him, with Kelly coming to the club. He might be loosened up ever so slightly. And I think Crisp is just consistent as the day is long, going to be really good for you. But like I said, I'd love to see Whitfield and Sicily in your team, and hopefully you can work out from the rest how you'd like to go about it. Rod, I quite enjoyed that comment. It did give me a bit of a laugh when I was watching. I think that might have been maybe the Sydney preview. He says, if you're just listening through this one through the headphones and didn't see the screenshot, I actually think Shorty is trolling us. Quote, I'm just sticking with it and maybe one day it will work. Don't think this is the most optimal strategy. Probably a good call, Rod. Probably a good call. I think this was in direct reference to Isaac Heaney. An absolute man crush I have on the man, much like Paddy Cripps. And Cripps burnt me to shreds last year. So maybe I'll learn. Maybe I'll take your advice on board, Rod. Because, yeah, history might suggest that maybe one day it will work. Just that day hasn't quite come yet over the last couple of years. So we'll see how we go. I'll try and keep it a bit more straight and narrow down the line this year. But thanks for your comment, mate. Jono, thanks, mate. Jono is a fella that's been watching for a long, long time. So I really appreciate your support, mate. He's often commented, always joins in the live Q&A, so I appreciate that. He says, G'day, Shorty. Really enjoying the content this pre-season, mate. Keep your videos coming. Thanks, mate. His question is, who do you think the top scorer of each line will be given the new changes? Cheers, Jono. Yeah, look, mate, probably I'll go through them in a tick, and it probably doesn't change too much on the new positions or any changes and that type of thing. It's pretty much what I would have said regardless, but down back, I think Lloyd will be the guy. There's not going to be too many surprises in this list, I wouldn't have thought, but I think Lloyd will be the only defender to average more than 110. I think he's a must, but you can mount a really good case for Stewart and Hall as well. They could be guys. I really think Whitfield's going to average 3 figures, so a guy that might up his ante a little bit. In the midfield, really tough. Look, honestly, I think Clayton Oliver's going to take the mantle. I'm a massive fan of Clary. I think he could average mid-120s, which isn't far off what he did last year, but you probably got to have any combination of the big dogs in McRae, Steele, and Oliver. I might be leaving one out, but look, you've got premiums, and then these guys almost like your Uber premiums, just super guns. But if I had to pick one, I would go Clary. In the ruck, I think Grundy will be the guy to take the mantle there. So you can get him marginally cheaper than a couple of the other big dogs, so not too bad there. And the forward line, I think it'll be out of 3, Dunkley, Duncan, and Taranto. And I'd have to go Dunkley. In fact, it probably would be in that exact order. Dunkley on top, and then Duncan, and then Taranto. And Langer's raised a really good point on the podcast that I'll put out tomorrow, that, Taranto might, start somewhat slowish depending on his position, given Green misses a whole lot of footy to start the year. And we saw how Taranto, as we obviously know, because his forward eligibility came about, but he did play a bit more time in the forward line. As that mid-sized forward option, strong in his position, one-on-one sort of deal. So I'll be interested to see how it goes. But, yeah, Lloyd, Oliver, Grundy, and Dunkley would be my lock-it-in Eddie final options. Thanks, David. I think I replied to your comment saying that I would get to it via this question, so hopefully you've been patient and hopefully you've seen it. Hopefully you've tuned in. I've left you the last, but I appreciate your comment nonetheless. As you would have seen in the screenshot, he had a little bit of a comment up the top, and then his actual question. I'm currently loaded with 7 primos in the mid. Bang! I don't mind that, actually. That's where the points are. Bang! I'm not bad. I don't mind that. Going heavy. I'd like to hear your thoughts on Tom Mitchell and Nick Dacos versus Caleb Sarong and Matt Rowell as M7 and M8. And this is a really interesting debate. Look, I would, in these scenarios, I almost always lean to the one that's got a guarantee. So you got 4 blokes there, and I reckon there's only one bloke you're going to keep all year, and that's Tom Mitchell. So in essence, that's going to save you a trade. As good as Matt Rowell and Sarong are, I don't see that they're underpriced. I think they'll go well, but I don't see you carrying them through the whole season. I mean, when you look at the midfield, you go, look, I've probably got to get 105 plus minimum, because there's a lot of mids that average 110 plus. So to get yourself into the top 10 midfielders, you got to be pretty outstanding. So clearly, two mid-price guys versus a primo and a rookie, it's a real risk versus a bit more reliable. Clearly, if you looked at it from a points perspective, let's say Tom Mitchell 115 and Dacos could be anything from 65 to 80. Let's call it 70. So, quick maths, we're getting 185 points a week out of them. And then Sarong and Rowell could also be anything. And that's where the risk comes into it. They could continue to not quite absolutely deliver. Let's say Sarong goes 85 and Rowell 95. That is going to give you 180 points. Best case scenario, they both average 100, and that gives you 200 points. So really interesting. Depends on your faith on Sarong and Rowell, because from a points perspective, they may well give you more points per week, but down the long term, you're potentially going to use an extra trade by going with them, and Dacos of all four is going to make the most money. So I've thrown a lot of ingredients there at you. Hopefully it's given you something to think about. That's how I look at it. What would my absolute answer be? I always preference the primo, and if it's a good premium, if I like him, and I like Tom Mitchell and Dacos, I think, particularly if he's sort of on a nice halfback flank, which is a little bit of talk, I'd definitely go with them. So hopefully that's helped you, mate. I waffled on for a bit there, but hopefully that has given you a bit of an insight as to what I think. But appreciate your questions, guys. I just picked a handful there. I'll try and pick a handful more at some stage next week. Just like I said off the top of the video, just to hopefully, show that I really appreciate your comments and give a bit of the limelight to you guys out there, rather than me just always talking. Can't get to everyone actually on the comments. You can't get to absolutely everybody. Trying to make a bit more of an effort when I get a chance. But live Q&A next Wednesday, 8 o'clock, I would say. I'll put out a video just to let you know exactly. But thanks again. Have a good weekend. I'll talk to you guys soon. Cheers.